Whoa, that's such a big question.
Wow, what a complicated question.
Yeah, I do have to think about it.
Um, I would say,
Yeah, I think I have it.
I think, well, the question I usually ask people is just what they wanted to be when they were younger. Just because I think a lot of life is kind of just tapping into that like untroubled part of ourselves, the like raw essence of like who we used to be. So I don't know, if you really want to get to know a person, like what did they want to do when they were younger? What was their dream before, everything else?
I wanted to be an archaeologist. I was like a really big nerd about like history and stuff. I also wanted to be a paleontologist because I loved dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are so cool. Yeah, archaeologist in Greek classics type thing. I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was a kid. Yeah, real science kid. Yeah, I would love to do like paleontology or archaeology. I think we're both into like, not to speak for you, but like where science meets culture.
Yeah. First question. What do you think is the good life for you? Is my question. Because most people will be satisfied with having friends or being accomplished with themselves, but I want them to specify what it is that they think is good for their life specifically. So that's what I would ask to a stranger.
My perfect life is one where I find balance, one where I live with integrity as best I can and continue to see the dignity in whoever I interact with in the world. And just experiencing love. I mean, that's something I want to learn more and more about in different ways. So that's one of my life goals for the next part. Anyway, I like stuff too, but I like living with beautiful things. But I am more and more paring down in my life. But oddly, I just moved into a house that is way too big for me because I was enjoying less stuff and less responsibility. So I'm a little afraid of being thrown out of balance, but I'm also excited to rent to people and interact with new people because we're going to rent some rooms. And so, yeah, kind of nervous.
when I'm trying to get to know somebody, the first question I might ask, we've already been talking a little bit, now we're trying to get to a deeper level. I would probably ask them where they're from and what that means to them. Because I have a lot of friends who have family from various countries, and I know that, their culture informs their everyday, decisions and the people they choose to surround themselves with. And it can be really informative and interesting to just know, a little bit about people's backgrounds.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in a small little town called Montclair. It's right next to Phoenixville and Collegeville. And so my parents both live there. Yeah, and I guess my whole life, I've never intended on staying in this area. It just kind of happened when I applied for college, kind of applied everywhere, but still ended up in Philly. When I applied for grad school, applied all over, and then still ended up in Philly. And I know my parents are happy about that. And now I actually work in Collegeville, which is right next to my hometown, which is cool because I can see my parents kind of during the week.
So you commute as well?
I commute, yeah, every day. Traffic's fun, but yeah, and then I guess so I have my parents and my sister here, but my whole family's actually from Poland. I mean, definitely being Polish is a big part of my life. So practically everyone's there. So while Like, while I have not tried to stay here, there's been a lot of benefits of being close to family and everything, especially since the rest of my family lives like an 8-hour flight away. So.
My second question, I think I like to ask people something that they learned either within the context of a certain experience. Like, I always like asking college kids, like, if you're looking back at like your high school experience, one thing you really learned about yourself from that time, or something you learned from a relationship, or something you learned in college, or the greatest lesson you've ever learned, or something that you've learned that you've really applied, or a mistake you've made that you've really learned from, something along those lines.
Well, greatest lesson. I think I was talking about this earlier today, so I guess it's like in my brain. Was when I was like in my early 20s, I was talking to a friend who was like, they were talking about their like retirement planning, and I was like, I haven't even thought about that. And they were like, who's gonna take care of young Francesca? And I was like, I don't fucking know. And they were like, who's gonna take care of old Francesca? And I was like, and they were like, young Francesca. And I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way to think about the future that I had never considered before, like setting yourself up for success early. But the flip side of that is like not feeling like if you don't do it by a certain point, it's too late. Yeah, so I don't know, what do you think? So making to-do lists. It's the macro or the micro version of the macro lesson. What do you think?
What is micro? I don't know.
What's a lesson
I
that you
don't.
learned?
I don't observe lessons.
What's a really smart thing that I told you one time?
My mom is not always right. I don't know. I was totally like, what do you think? I don't know. You're always telling me
It
that.
doesn't have to be me. I was being kidding.
No, I know, but I don't know. Like, you're always telling me to, like, ask for help and stuff. That's a good one. I'm not good at that, so. I'm just very into, like, the idea of being like, I got here all on my own, yada, yada, yada. I think also I'm just, like, very self-conscious, so the idea of having to be like, I need help is, like, very daunting.
I should be qualified. Like, even if you have no reason to think you should be qualified, like, I should be qualified to know this or do this on my own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's
Or like worrying, yeah, I think I when I struggle with that, it's like, oh, is this something everybody else already knows? And I'm going to be the only one who's like asking this question.
every day.
It's a real, yeah.
What are ways for you to find self-worth? That's my second question. Because I want to know what they really value about themselves. I want to know what they do for them to value themselves, and that gets to make me know the person better.
Yeah, I tend to be very frenetic, so doing too much, keeping busy, filling time. So I think I'm finding more right now that making time to just relax, read, leave space for things to happen, not fill time with errands and all the things that life can kind of smush out. That's been good, and I've had a child go through a lot of struggle in the last few years, and we've learned a lot through the process of getting through it, and me personally and us together. So one of those things is it's taught me to really listen well, and that's applied to other people as other relationships as well, but listening without an agenda, without trying to help, without trying to fix, really just listening, validating another person, and that's, you know, it's about other people, like you said, but it's really given, it's been a growth process for me in ways that are amazing. So, yeah.
And then the next question I would probably ask them, like realistically, I would say like, tell me one really interesting thing going on in your life right now, or like what makes you tick, you know, like what's your passion? Yeah. So I think hearing about where someone's from and what their passion is are two of the biggest ways to get to know someone on a deeper level.
Honestly, I said this kind of before. The one thing if I had like more time, I would really spend more time like at the piano. There's just, like I said, it's equally a part of me. So like if I could have anything, it'd just be more time to just like sit down every day, play, learn new things.
Play like with friends or with a group, or just by yourself solo?
So for piano, I tend to play by myself, but I have played, like I have like a violinist who we used to play together. I also play flute, and there's actually a flute choir at Penn, so every Saturday we play in the morning and everything. So that's kind of like a nice way to keep involved and everything.
You say like music is, just music in general, sort of like fuels like a lot of your personality because you play it? Like, do you think you hear it differently, or I guess, I don't know, I feel like reading music is kind of a superpower sometimes.
Yeah.
I used to be able to, I played like an instrument when I was really young, but I like totally forgot everything about it.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like it unlocks that new door.
It definitely, there are times like if I'm like upset or just like need to just like kind of chill, like there are definitely some go-to like pieces either to play, or even like, obviously I can just go on Spotify or YouTube and play something as well, but there's something equally great of like sitting down at the piano and playing something that's kind of comforting or calming.
I play piano too.
Oh yeah, piano was cool.
Do you still?
My mom forced me to.
I hear ya.
I feel like that's a common theme. Like, oh, my parents made me.
I should say my parents definitely, when I was like younger, if I was just like was kind of like, come on, let's go. And I'm kind of happy they kind of kept pushing me during like times in which I didn't want to.
If I'm ever a parent one day, that's like gonna be something I try to do.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about this at work of like
Really?
best way to like parent, and we like joked like everyone who had like immigrant parents, like what did they do? And I don't think like my parents never like pushed me to be the best, but no matter what I did, there was always like, well, like say I came home with a 98, it was like, well, why didn't you get 100? Or even getting 100, well, why didn't you get a 102? Like there was always just that like extra push, not to be the best, but to be better than whatever you did, so.
There's a part of life like, and you guys are, you know, in your 20s or wherever you are and kind of on the like, at the beginning. And that I always trusted what next happens, and life was very spontaneous. And I thought, oh, well, if I have kids, I'll travel with them and I'll follow my bliss and all that.
I feel like it's good in your early 20s though to feel like you know everything to a certain extent, because otherwise it's not as fun. Like if you don't have total confidence that you know what you're doing, you're gonna miss out on a lot of stupid shit that's really fun.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of being in your 20s is being kind of stupid, right?
Yeah, you have to do it.
But life gets kind of smaller and more oriented towards getting things done and errands and what needs and responsibilities and all that. And I'm just mentioning this because I'm just on the other side and wondering now, can I meander through life in a different way, more spontaneously?
Like in my 30s, I think I was stressed out about choices that I made in my 20s because I was like, oh, I don't have like a career. But I think once I got into kind of my late 30s, I was like, oh, I'm just not interested in having a career. Like I like having the freedom to pursue different interests.
Anyway, just an interesting kind of life thirds almost, you know. Anyhow, yeah.
That's valuable insight.
Well, I'll start with my name. It is Joshua Afriye. What else do you need to know about me?
My name is Nestor. Came from Nicaragua. Don't know what I'm doing here, honestly, except studying, but it's good here at Temple. Yeah, studying business management,
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a senior at Temple University.
My name is Esme. I'm 17 years old. I'm a student, and I'm from Philly and Portland.
I'm Francesca. Hello. I'm a longtime Philly resident, over 20 years. And I teach yoga and work construction and make websites. And I need kale. I need kale right now, which is why I'm here.
I'm Julie, middle name Ray, 57-year-old woman. She, her, hers. I just moved to this area, so I'm a human in transition, which is exciting to be at the precipice of exploring a new neighborhood and a new space with my child, and I have another one of my children who lives here. I'm an artist, I'm an educator, and I don't know what the next third of my life is going to be, but that is who I am in short.
All right, so yeah, my name is Martin. I grew up outside of Philly, came to Philly first for undergrad, went to St. Joe's for 4 years, and then Penn for a PhD. I have 2 cats. They're brothers, Babu and Sterling, they're the best. What else about me? So I'm a scientist by training. So I do protein engineering, but I also, since I was 5, have been playing piano, so I find both of them equally important in my life, doing science and music. But
It's a nice mix.
yeah, exactly. Like I can't have one without the other.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so I live in South Philly now, love it. Love just going out, seeing what's new, hanging out with friends.
Sarah, I saw you doing the show.
This is Buddy. He's 9.
Oh, 9 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
He just never grew, I guess.
Yeah, he's a forever puppy.
Had him like since birth.
No, he's a rescue.
No, he was like a severely abused rescue, which is why we named him Buddy, so that we were like, he knew we were friends.
Who's a good boy? Buddy's a good boy. Buddy, you want to say something?
Hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. Are y'all good?
There's a fucking bunny on a leash over there. What?
Oh my god.
And she's wearing velour pants.
Oh my god, we're not interesting. They gotta interview her.